Gavin, and this is Genre Books, and today I'm talking about something that I really don't enjoy talking about, and that is because the last time I dipped into the tote bag of mild peril, we found out why it was perilous, as well as the names of all the books that I have on the shelves behind me. I've also got written down there on those slips of paper the names of 100 different literary subgenres, not all of which I'm going to be a fan of. So the last case has proven. I chose misery literature, and I've got to say from the outset, I don't get it. It's trauma, it's destitution, it's abuse, it's intrusive, it's voyeuristic. Possibly, I don't know, it may be cathartic for some people. Hopefully, it's something that does the authors some good. But that kind of searingly painful, raw autobiography is only one part of misery literature. Possibly not as popular as it was, certainly in the 1990s. It was very popular. Bookstores would have sections, and I believe some probably still do, of real lives, painful lives. These books were on the shelves of supermarkets. Sometimes very popular books could be construed as misery literature, and there are worthy additions to the literary canon from the genre. I'm thinking not many examples, but I would say maybe Wild Swans or Angela's Ashes. But more often than not, these are autobiographical tales of people who've just had a shit time of it. There's an argument in some of these that they would be inspirational to people, in that there is escape there, hopefully. There is redemption there, hopefully. There may be forgiveness. There may be justice served. I think I can see more reasons for writing one of these books than for reading one. And this is the reason that I've taken so long to respond to pulling this genre out of the bag. And that is, it's something that doesn't interest me, and I struggle to think of any books I've read that would fall under this category. I think previously maybe two, one of which is semi-autobiographical and one of which is fictional. The fictional book was How Late It Was, How Late by James Kelman. This is a former Booker Prize winning novel, and it's a book that won the Booker Prize not without some controversy. I believe one of the judges may have resigned over it. Another judge roundly castigated the choice. It's a miserable book. The main character is unlikable, but the position he's put into does garner some sympathy. He's a convict who's been let out, but he's been assaulted by the police. He comes to consciousness and sees that he is blind, and he struggles to try and piece any semblance of an existence back together. I haven't read it since the year it won the Booker, so the memory is cheating on me a little bit. I think the pieces that I enjoyed in the book were probably, not those aspects of the plot. I enjoyed the narrative voice written in a Scottish vernacular. Now, I don't normally enjoy written accents. I don't quite know what the term is for this. In fact, it's as much as I like Victorian literature, this is sometimes one of the things I can't stand in Victorian literature, is reading through a book and a Dickens character has such an affected speech pattern that I sometimes struggle to, certainly to find out voice and occasionally to understand what the hell they're saying. And the only other book that I can think of that would be classified as misery literature is again something I read a quarter of a century ago, and that is Bastard Out of Carolina by Dorothy Allison. Again, this is a harrowing story. It's well written, but it's not something that you would, I don't think, care to go back to. There was a film made some years after the book came out, and I don't think Wild Horses could have dragged me to go and see it. But that's just me. Maybe people enjoy reading the stories of other people's misery. I should count my blessings. I've not been neglected, abused, traumatised. If I had been, would I want to read other people's accounts of the same thing? And more importantly, and the second half of what I want to talk about, is what would I feel if I were reading something about a similar plight to my own, only to find out it was a hoax. This is something which seems to have plagued misery literature from the outset, and that it is prone to people passing off fictional work as if it were true. Works that fall into this category include Go Ask Alice, Angel at the Fence, A Million Little Pieces, and I don't know how I feel about that kind of presentation. I think if I know at the outset that it's fictional, that's fine. I think if I were to find out that something was a hoax after the event, I would feel cheated. Whether I would want to read something knowing it is a hoax, I'm unsure. There are degrees to this, I suppose. Quite often it would probably align with your own worldview or prejudice. For example, you may read a book about how terrible things are in Hollywood. That's a bit voyeuristic, it's a bit prurient. I can see why people might enjoy it because there's, the whole Hollywood glamour there. If someone's written a fictional account of their suffering in the Holocaust, then I've got a real problem with it, because it wasn't like there was any need to make up stories about how terrible the Holocaust was. What did you think you were adding? I haven't plucked that out of the air. There have been stories that have done exactly this. There have been other books which have been pulled from publication just before they were about to be published because people have found out that the stories aren't real. Anyway, I haven't spent 3 weeks just to come up with some half-baked thoughts. I did read something. I didn't have anything misery literature on my shelves because, as you know, I'm super happy fun guy. So I went and got something from Project Gutenberg because it's free and because misery literature has been around a rather long time. And the book I read was The Awful Disclosures of Maria Monk at the Hotel Dieu Nunnery in Montreal. I think it's had a few different titles and I've probably mashed two of them together there. But this is a work of 1836 detailing the abuse Maria Monk claims she suffered as a former nun in Montreal. This book caused a scandal, caused a sensation, and given the next nearly 200 years of subsequent things found out about various parts of not just the Catholic Church but churches in general, something which wouldn't seem completely unbelievable. And it did bring in a lot of people who believed it. It was one of the best-selling books in the United States around the time that it was written. It was, however, almost certainly a hoax. Maria Monk is very descriptive about the layout of the nunnery. When subsequently people investigating the story visited the nunnery, the layout of the building did not match her descriptions. It also could not be ascertained whether Maria Monk had ever been a nun. She had been in convent care in an asylum, and certainly one of the other, I'm going to say, characters that Maria writes about sounds like more like an asylum inmate than a Bride of Christ. As a piece of literature, it's no great shakes. As something that caused a reaction, it was incendiary. It pandered to the beliefs that people already had. It also came on the back of another book about some lady's 6 months as a nun, an expose of how terrible the treatment was, and was a very popular read. It's also published in New York in Protestant US of A about activities in the Catholic part of Canada. So you have your sectarian reasons for wanting to hoax, print, read, believe this work. I suppose when you now look at it from this distance in time, you almost feel a little better that the audiences from 1836 could be reading the scandal for, the little bit of titillation, and not for the purer motives of being scandalised by the terrible goings on. That sort of brings you closer to our own time and obsession with the lives of, now famous people. I suppose we do the same thing with celebrity that we would do 200-300 years about the church. Like I say, not for me, and not a world I hope to be going back to. But there's only one way of finding out what I'm doing next, and that is by choosing another slip of paper from the tote bag of Mild Peril. Mind Bridge by Joe Haldeman. So, some science fiction. Thank God. Here we are. I found the book. Joe Haldeman, Mind Bridge, a dazzling epic of the far future from the author of The Forever War. When sensors detect the presence of an alien intelligence in the region of the star Arcana, a team of tamers is sent to investigate. They are never seen again. I'll read this, try fit it in the next couple of weeks, and we'll come back here to let you know my thoughts and to pick another book from the tote bag of Mild Peril. But until that point, bye.